What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back. Here we go. Right. Episode 1, Humble Talk Podcast. It's your boy Feast. Right. We back in. I appreciate y'all for coming through for the official kickback. That song is PSA, right, by K Flock. Music for me is therapeutic. So, you know, we'll try to start this thing off every week with the song of the day, right? That's the song I've been listening to since I woke up this morning, right? Got up, got situated, went to the gym early in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock, something just to kind of get the juices flowing, kind of get motivated, get moving around. And so I just figure I'd share that, right? It may be a different song every week, right? I guarantee you, actually, it'll be a different song every week because I'm always listening to music. For those people who know me, I always have earphones in. I'm always jamming something, right? If you don't know me and you want to know the easiest way to figure out what mood I'm in for that day or in that moment, just walk by me and go, hey, what you listening to? If if I'm listening to some oldies, right? Old Luther, Commodore, something like that. Hey, man, I'm relaxing. I'm out the way. I'm just minding my business, right? If I'm listening to something a little bit more aggressive, I might be, my mind might be in a different place at the moment. You know what I'm saying? So I do believe that music is good for the soul. You know what I mean? I do believe that. I wholly believe that. I can think back to times in my life where music was the theme song, right? There's some things that I went to go do at once upon a time in life that maybe I don't do if I'm not listening to certain music, right? But I'm older now, right? You learn and you grow as you go. And I've definitely learned that music is definitely something, especially for me, having a very love-hate relationship with music, but very therapeutic relationship as well with music, that it'll definitely put you in some situations if your mind state allows it to. So I'm glad to be able to kind of have gotten past that point, right? Be old enough to sit here and be able to kind of kick back, do some things, and be able to appreciate the music for what it is, right? So again, here we are, Humble Talk Podcast, episode 1, right? So here we go, man. Give y'all a quick recap of how my past couple of days have gone since my initial video. For those of you who checked it out, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Right. As we're building, right, we may add some things, we may take some things away, but I appreciate it. But past couple of days, just work as usual for me, right? Nothing crazy, right? But I'm actually on vacation right now. And so I don't usually take vacation. Usually I'm very much so like work. So for me to be on vacation, it's kind of weird in a way because I tend to like have so much going on a lot of the time that I don't know how to just stop and just be like, all right, I got time to sit. Let me just sit and relax and just be in the moment. 9 times out of 10, I've got something else going on. I've got grass to cut. I've got to be here. I got to go do this. I got, whatever is going on. I'm just always moving around. So the past couple of days, as of yesterday and today, I've actually just been not sitting, but I've been more relaxed in my day. You know what I'm saying? So today is going to be a little bit more productive towards the end of the day. And then Friday will kind of be a little bit of school shopping, stuff like that, right? It's that season, right? So everybody's going to be outside. Hopefully we can get that part done before it gets crazy for the rush, and we can kind of scratch that thing off the list and go from there, right? So hopefully, everybody that's watching this, man, hopefully y'all got y'all stuff out the way. We usually do, but we just haven't yet. So, but let's get into it, right? So there's some conversations that some people have been having with me over the past maybe 2 weeks or so, right? And the perspectives have been tossed back and forth, right? So I kind of want to gauge a couple of those conversations out loud, you know what I'm saying? And actually, first thing I want to get into, I'm not a lawyer, right? The rapper Gunner, for those of you who are aware with the YSL Rico situation, pled guilty to racketeering and gang charges. And he got released. Other than to say the fact that to get time served on a RICO case, is wild. I'm not going to elaborate. For those of y'all who know, right? The Young Thug seems to be in a whole world of hurt, but Gunner, his quote unquote accomplice in some of the situations, right, seems to be free on racketeering and drug charges from a RICO. So here nor there, just wanted to throw that out. It's been on my brain all morning. Just kind of had to get that out of my system real quick. I apologize. Please forgive me. But the first thing that's been brought to my attention, as a person who coaches football and somebody who's played a lot of football, this whole Jackson State thing with Deion Sanders has been a big thing for you guys who are watching TV or around sports in general. For those of y'all who don't know, right? Well, a quick play-by-play, right? Deion Sanders coached for Jackson State for a couple years, right? Of course, the whole thing happened with him just recently accepting the head coaching job in Colorado, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just to say that his contract wasn't necessarily saw through on the Jackson State side. A lot of people had issues with that, among some other things. He came out in different outlets and said, hey, there were some things that weren't right, not trying to point fingers at who's doing what, but some things didn't seem to be right with the numbers, insinuating that there was maybe some contract issues, or there was some hedging of some funds, right, on somebody else's behalf that would affect him. Now, I understand how football is a business, and for a lot of people who don't understand, from the moment you get to high school, 10th grade, football becomes a business. The fun of football is gone once you get to 10th grade. Yeah, you have fun as the player, but if you're a player that has a certain level of talent, you have to understand that football is a talent, right? It's a job at some point. You're auditioning for colleges at that point, right? There are guys who before that are on the college radar, but most guys, 9th to 10th grade for sure, you're on somebody's radar if your talent garners that level of attention, right? So you have a coach come sit in your living room and your coach tells you, hey, I think that you'll be great for our team, yada, yada, right? They give you the spiel. Once that happens, you go into a situation where you decide as a player where you want to play. A lot of that is based on who your coach is and the pitch they gave you. A lot of the pitch is, hey, I'm going to be here to help you see this thing through to get you to the next level. The next level being the NFL, of course. That doesn't always happen. Why? Because football is a business. You have to understand that. You can't be mad at a coach who is quietly dealing with disparities with the organization from what he says and goes and takes another job, right? You can't, in real life, you can't say, hey, I took this job because I like my boss, but now my boss quit. Now I'm mad that my boss quit. It doesn't work that way, right? It's business. It's nothing personal, right? If I have disparity somewhere and there's something over here, even though I like where I'm at, I'm going to have to still check out this other thing that's going on, even if I don't take it, right? It's just not realistic to be mad at a guy that poured himself in his name, right? Everybody knows Deion Sanders, right? We're in Texas, right? Everybody in Texas knows Deion Sanders. If you watch a football game, 90% of y'all are Cowboys fans. I'm an Eagles fan. We're not going to get into that. But 90% of y'all who are Cowboys fans, 100% know who Deion Sanders is. So you're lending more than your football brain, your name and your likeness to a program, an HBCU at that greatly needed it, right? It's not the same if you go to these other schools that are already established, right? Yeah, it's cool if you went to Alabama as Deion Sanders, right? But there's something about going to a HBCU and being able to kind of work with those guys that could use that leadership. You know what I'm saying? And not necessarily not necessarily just take over the program, but allow these guys to flourish the way they need to get to the next level. Now, as the other side of the business, if I'm allotted a situation where I'm able to move up and I can take those guys with me who may not necessarily have the grades, right, at one time, because a lot of these teams don't lack talent. A lot of these teams just lack grades or the intangibles, right? I can't make a guy 6'5" who's not 6'5". What I can do is give that guy 6'5" talent if I coach it well enough. And now I can put that on display to the world and let's see what happens, right? So it's all luck of the draw. Some things you're born with, some things you're not. But as a coach, if you have the opportunity to go into a different environment and change that and bring some guys along, then I think that's commendable, right? That's just my opinion. I don't know. I could be wrong, right? But hey, I'm open for opinions. Comment box is open, right? Let's talk about it, right? I have zero issues with that. And as a guy who coaches kids, I look at it the same way. I look at it like, hey, listen, like these guys that want to play football, these youngsters that want to play football, my job is to make sure that they're ready to go. Whether or not we win or we lose, not saying it's not a big deal, but it's all minuscule to the goal. The goal is for you to get better as a player, as an athlete. And if I can coach you to be better, the wins will come. And that's how I approach it, right? The guys that have coached me, that's how they coached it. Because it doesn't matter if you win games if you're not teaching anything. It doesn't matter if the next coach can't use them, then it don't matter that y'all were undefeated. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you were the top ranked guy if you can't put it on display when they need you to. Don't matter, right? So, T.C. Taylor, right? I believe that's his name. T.C. Taylor was named the 22nd head coach of Jackson State University in lieu of Deion Sanders going to Colorado. T.C. Taylor went to Jackson State, graduated there, played receiver and quarterback. I believe he played quarterback first and then got transferred over to receiver. I think is a great hire. He was a guy that moved around inside Mississippi. He didn't go way far out and then had to turn around and come back. He stayed right in that general area. He's a hometown guy. He's a guy that wants to be there, right? And he's a guy who seemingly is going to try to keep the culture the way Deion left it. And so for that, regardless of how everything shook out, I think that you should be happy as a parent of a kid at Jackson State, or even as an HBCU, right? These small schools, right? That you have guys that are now wanting and are able and have put enough dues in to take the job and want to push the culture forward, right? Because that's a big thing. It sucks when you have a bunch of guys and you change regimes midway through, right? And these guys have signed on to be a part of your program, and then the coach leaves and then you bring in something completely different. That sucks, man. Like that sucks so bad to be in a situation like that, not knowing what they're going to do, what they're going to bring in, who they're going to bring in, right? Sometimes, a lot of times, like a lot of these coaches come in and they just clean house and everybody ends up somewhere else, or they end up playing a position they're not supposed to be in. And there goes your NFL hopes and dreams out the window, all because one guy decided that you were better at this position than the position you've played your whole life. But that's life. That's football for you. Right. So we commend him. We'll applaud TC. I'm definitely going to be tuning into some games. We'll see what happens. Right. But I'm interested, and I'm happy to see what they have going on there. So that's that, man. Like I don't know. I have friends who definitely give me the ninth degree. Right. They're like, hey, like you played football at a pretty high level, bro. Like, how do you have that perspective? And it's like, yo, like, I don't really care much about winning games unless it's the right way. Maybe that's my perspective, right? And I played in Austin, right? I played against some pretty good competition there, and to be a pretty good player in the major cities is a big thing in Texas, because what a lot of people don't understand is that there isn't a lot of opportunities outside of certain areas. Where I'm from, there isn't football, right? Like junior high ball doesn't exist where I'm from. There, you play your little rec ball, and then once you get to junior high, that's it. Like there isn't any junior high ball. So from rec ball, 10, 11 years old, something like that, then football dies for you. And then you go to high school, and then you play football from 9 to 12. So in theory, you have 4 years to become the best football player that you can be. That's already an uphill battle already when you're talking about states like Texas, like Florida, like Louisiana, that literally play football year round. And you can play from 5 years old all the way up until you can't, literally, until you go to college, right? Like, so it's a whole different environment that a lot of these guys come into. But I mean, it's definitely these southern states that I've been in, they definitely have a leg up already just by having that access, to football year round and to coaching year round. Right. So yeah, man, I think I won that one. Right. That's just my opinion. I mean, my homie, like he definitely felt as though like he had a leg up on me in that part, but I just don't see it. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm definitely gonna get back with him about it, and we definitely gonna argue it out again just because I like his perspective, but I don't think he's gonna win that one, guys. Just want to let you know. Yeah. So, next thing, man, this whole thing about Brittany Griner, man. I don't know. I don't know where to start with this thing. I really don't. Like, I really don't know where to start with this. Like, I'm really torn. Like, I'm really in a space where I'm like, hey, like, so we really traded a basketball player for an arms dealer. It sounds crazy, man. Like, Victor Bout is the guy's name, if anybody wants to look him up, right? Arms dealer. I believe they caught him. Where did they catch him? I believe they caught him overseas somewhere, right? I believe they caught him overseas somewhere, and they were doing, the CIA or somebody had an operation going on there. They ran across him, arrested him, and then he got sent here. I'm not trying to be the most political guy in the world because, to be quite honest, I'm not. It don't move me much, right? From a standpoint of, like, there's so much going on locally that something so far away is a big thing. I just think that's kind of weird, right? But I do think it's telling when you trade a basketball player who knowingly broke the law in another country with a guy who was knowingly plotting to kill Americans. I just don't see the trade-off. I can't wrap my mind around the trade-off, right? There are a lot of people that are saying, and through my conversations, people were saying, hey, well, there's a Marine that's over in Russia, a Mr. Whalen. I don't understand that, because I do get, like, that the whole thing with, like, something's better than nothing. And I guess in theory, Mr. Bout, the Merchant of Death is what they call him. He is supposed to be getting out of jail soon. So I guess on an expiring sentence, they decided it made sense to just let him loose a little early to get her back. Again, it's all perspective, and this is just me, but I just feel like for as much time as we've spent watching the internet and seeing people, I'm not saying anybody in particular, right? But we've seen people mysteriously die in ambulances. We've seen people die in the back of cop cars. We've seen people die with phones in their hand, right? We've seen all this stuff. And again, like, I'm not the political guy, right, per se. But it's just my opinion, right? I have a phone like everybody else. I have access to the internet like everybody else. I'm seeing this stuff like y'all are. I just can't seem to grip the idea that this guy, right, that we know, based on what they tell us, is plotting to kill Americans, and he's the Merchant of Death, right? I haven't played a video game that's had a name that wild, right? So I just don't see how he don't trip in jail somewhere. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, I just don't see it. I don't understand how he don't, like, accidentally fall down the stairs, right, in jail. I don't see it. And maybe it's me, and maybe, I'm sure, right? I'm sure he's probably in, like, ADX Supermax, right, in Colorado. I'm sure he's somewhere way out the way where there's, like, probably 24-hour solitary confinement where he's not around anybody. He probably eats in his cell. He probably does everything solo to avoid any type of issues that he would bump into. I'm almost certain that's probably where he's at. But I just don't see that. So you allow the Merchant of Death to get released back to Russia to do what? I don't know what it is that maybe he got a side gig. I don't think that you hand out the Merchant of Death title to a guy who makes cakes on the weekends. My personal opinion. So I think that's a very hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow for me, and I'm not super duper like involved in the situation and everything like that. Like I don't actively follow it, but I do from time to time flip my phone open, and I definitely do. Wow. You know what's crazy? I just said flip my phone open. Yo, that's crazy. Like having a flip phone is nuts. I digress for a second. Listen, having a flip phone in 2022 is wild, yo. Like I like the fact that I even just said that like is crazy. Like I should probably cut that out because like that's just wild, man. Like, but again, I just think that that's crazy to me. I just think that's crazy that you guys trade him for a basketball player. Not saying that I believe that her sentence was warranted, but at the same time, like, who are we to say what some other countries' laws are, right? If that's the law and you knowingly broke the law, whether you knew what the punishment was or not, it's irrelevant. You know what the law was. And based on that alone, I'm not saying she should still be there. I'm just saying I don't know if I trade her for the Merchant of Death, even if he's got 4 or 5 years left from based on what I was reading. If he's got 4 or 5 years left, I need to figure out some way for him to get a hangnail in jail or something like that. Personally, don't know if I can keep that statement, but I mean I said it. So, Brittany Griner's home. She's home. I mean, she's home hanging out. I'm sure she's probably eating all the best food that she could find because I'm sure in Russian jail, I believe they have hard labor. So in camps. So I'm sure she probably like is sitting back, kick back, relaxing. And I mean, by all means, like happy that she's back, but I definitely am torn about that thing in particular. Personally. I can't shake that. I can't shake that. How nuts is that to get traded for a guy named the Merchant of Death, yo? And to be out here walking around as an American, like to walk by him during the exchange and just know, like, damn, they traded me for you. I'm super winning in life to get traded for a guy named the Merchant of Death. Backstory to that, though, I mean, hindsight, I guess, is 2020. Like, I also feel like she wouldn't be over there in the first place if the WNBA, as professional athletes, made more money. Of course, the NBA makes they're millionaires, right? They make millions and billions of dollars a year, right? Like, I mean, the WNBA isn't necessarily like a separate entity unto itself, right? Like there is some go-between on that, right? And as the go-between, right? Like, I think there has to be a conversation that's had, like, hey, why are all these professional athletes going over to Russia and these other countries to go make money? I mean, I understand what people are going to say. I get the argument. The argument's going to be, well, they're not making enough money. They're living above their means, right? And to subsidize income, right? They have to like do what they got to do. I get that 100%. I'm not saying that these people are no better than anybody else when it comes to like just spending money because they got it. I get that. Everybody has people like that, right? The difference is that like Joe Blow that you work with ain't necessarily on TV 3 times a week, right? Playing basketball, right? And I'll be the first one to say, like, I don't watch WNBA. I'm not an avid watcher, right? Like, I don't just sit in front of the TV and watch WNBA. When it's on, I'll click to it, watch it for a little while, and I'll get the hell off the screen because, I mean, to be quite honest, I like action. You know what I'm saying? Personally, like, nothing wrong with the talent. I just like action. I like parody. You know what I'm saying? But I also feel like for them to be professional athletes and to put them on TV and for them to still feel the need to go overseas and make money, there's a disconnect somewhere. I do feel like that. And I don't think nobody's ever going to get me to change my mind about that. When you're able to put a product out for people to see, and then you still have to go make money elsewhere in order to make ends meet. I don't understand. I don't know if that's the right term, right? Because, I mean, you can always live to the means in which they're paying you. So I guess it's a decision that they make. But, I mean, the best WNBA player isn't making what the best NBA player is making. Not by a long shot. I'm not saying that they should even be close, but I do think that there's a conversation in there somewhere as to figure out where that other money can come from to make it make sense. So I don't know. I don't know. That one's a hard one. That one's a hard one for me. It really is. That's a hard one for me because I really think that the Merchant of Death title in itself, like, you pretty much traded her for the Tony Stark of killing. Oops. So I think I lost that one to my homie. I think I lost that one, man. I don't know. Like I definitely gave my all on that back and forth for my homie, but I definitely think like after I got in the car and I left and I was kind of driving and I was thinking about it, I was like, he had some points, his point was pretty much that like, hey, like a person for a person, I guess is better than nothing. Which is what the president said, or the president's secretary, or whoever said, hey, getting somebody is better than nobody. I understand that. I do understand that. So, we probably won't rehash that one between me and him, but yeah, that's definitely my feeling about it. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of other people who feel that way. So, we won't be long today, but, currently there's a, Takeoff issue. Yeah, he died in Houston a couple weeks ago. I had a different kind of conversation with some of the homies about this one because I've been in situations like that somewhat where we're outside. Again, we outside, right? Maybe not currently, but back in my heyday, right? We outside and we're in environments that we shouldn't be in already, but we're in them because we feel like that's what we're supposed to do. If we're being real for a second, right? They do have somebody that's arrested, but I'm willing to bet that this thing isn't as complicated as people are making it out to be. And I saw a whole lot of conspiracy theorists out there stating this, stating that, Jay Prince Jr. this, mob ties that. I mean, if you're not supposed to be where you're not supposed to be, then you just shouldn't be there. Like, people used to tell me, act your wage and not your age. And I used to take that to heart, right? Because I'd be like, yo, like, act my wage, bro. Like, one, like, I make more than you. And two, I'm like that. So you telling me to act my wage is kind of disrespectful to a guy that doesn't have much fear, right? If any, and who, who's definitely at one point in his life, at least, was a different type of person, right? I didn't understand what that meant, right? I just felt like, them older guys, right? Like they'll say stuff to you and it will be random people that would say stuff to me. And so you don't hear it. You don't really catch it. And so later on in life, I kind of picked up on that, right? And so once I got it, it kind of stuck with me. So when I saw this whole Migos incident or, Takeoff incident, as I'm watching the video like everybody else, right? I'm human. The moment I heard Quavo say what he said about leaving before you hurt somebody, the moment he said hurt somebody before I hurt somebody, I knew what was going to happen next happened. I knew it was a no-brainer. There was no way, there's no way in certain environments you get to say what you want without consequence. I don't care who you think you're supposed to be. I don't care who you are, right? There wasn't enough money standing there at that moment to keep from what happened. There was no way. There was no way. Everybody can say, hey, well, they jumped the gun on this. No pun intended, right? These people, they overreacted. These people didn't have to do that. You're right. Everything that I've heard as an argument as to why it shouldn't have happened is 100% right. The problem is that the moment that you made that statement, everything that happened after that was going to happen regardless of who was there. Period. There was armed security is probably the only way that don't happen. And when I say armed security, I don't mean like, I don't mean the people that you pay like $200 for and they give you, old boy is as big as hell and he got a vest on. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actual off-duty police. I'm talking about that type of armed security. I'm not talking about your homeboy in them. I mean armed security, because you walked into an environment that you're not familiar with. Because let me be very clear, not all ghettos are the same. Don't get it twisted. And everybody who's famous ain't famous everywhere. They just not. Everybody who's tough ain't tough everywhere. Guess what? Y'all just not. I hate to say it, right? And where I grew up, everybody had to be who they were. You couldn't be outside if you weren't who you were, period. That's just what it was. It just what it was. You're either wolf or sheep where I'm from. That's it. So when that happened, it sucked to see it kind of all play out on video, but it wasn't surprising because it's like, how else do you think it goes when you stand around a bunch of guys that, one, you don't know, two, they're probably only tolerating you because of the person that you're standing with or who brought you there, and three, you're a prize, bro. Y'all got money, bro. Y'all on TV. Y'all are on TV. Y'all are famous people, bro. Like, imagine the conversations that have been had since that about what the actual situation. Think about what's not being said out loud over these weeks until old boy got locked up. If that's the dude who did it. Because watching the video that I saw, I mean, I can't say that that's the guy that actually shot him. I can't say that it's not, though, either. But what I do know is that you don't walk into a group of people shooting dice in an area that you know you're not supposed to be in with people you know you're not supposed to be with and expect nothing to happen when you get an attitude and start talking a certain type of way. It 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work. It just don't work. You know, and I hate that it all happened, and it's seeing death is something that you never learn to get over. You may get desensitized to it, but you never forget that moment, right? You never forget that moment. I just think personally for me, I think it's a learning experience for everybody who's been paying attention to it. I think that you can't. Yeah, I think that you can't walk into a situation and look at that and go, hey, well, he did what he was supposed to do. He stood up for himself. Listen, sometimes walking away and not saying nothing is the difference between you getting carried by 6 or you going home to sleep at night. Sometimes, right? I emotions run high, and I get that. Whatever was happening prior to that seemed like there was a back and forth. I get it 100%. 100%. I can't be mad at you for being emotional about somebody saying something to you a type of way or playing you a certain type of way. Everybody in that environment doesn't react the same way, though. There was a comfort there that you shouldn't have had if you're Quavo. You shouldn't have that level of comfort. I don't care about none of that. These my guys and we locked in. That all sounds cool until it ain't the case. And usually when it's not the case, you're the last one to find out. Everybody else understands their role. It's you who's out of place. So hopefully they get a resolution to it, man. Hopefully everything lines itself out. And hopefully it's just kind of it's a learning experience. Hopefully everybody who's watching it took something from that. Like, hey, like sometimes it's okay. Hell, I do it, right? I'm chilling, right? Like I'm not outside doing stuff anymore, right? Like I'm retired, bro. I'm chilling. Like I'm on my business, right? I mean, everybody who knows me know where to find me. I'm outside, but I'm not actively looking for an issue. A lot of times if you catch me, I'm in traffic. I'm always by myself. You know what I'm saying? I have friends, love my bros to death. Like they do what they do. And when I'm with them, and we kicking it, and we're going to ride this thing till the wheels fall off. Right. But when I'm not, and I'm home, and it's not time to be on that, I'm not on that. I'm at home. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to learn how to turn that off, and you got to learn how to put yourself in situations that don't allow you to be tested in a way to where you got to show and prove, because showing and proving is what it's going to ultimately end up being at some point. If not for you, for somebody that you love that's standing there at some point. And the hardest thing is to stand in a courtroom or to sit in a deposition and explain why you know you weren't supposed to be there. You have a whole life in front of you to lose, and you decided to go anyway. It's the hardest shit in the world. Excuse my French. Right? So, I mean, hopefully everything lines itself out. Prayers for everybody. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, it's hope, it's learning experience, and everybody's able to take something from it. So, you know, we'll get you out of here in a minute, man. This last part right here, man, is a humble talk segment. So we'll sit and just kind of be humble for a second. A lot of times it may be something that I read, it may be a quote that I heard, it may be something that just crossed my mind, right? And so this week we'll just start with this, right? Based on the things that I talked about today, the conversations that I've had, I just think that it's very much so a good thing for me to like get this out, right? I once heard this saying, and I gotta be clear about the way I'm saying it to make sure I don't say it wrong, because it sounds crazy when you hear it and you're not listening. The saying goes, I would rather be at war with the world and at peace with myself than at war with myself and at peace with the world. I know. It sounds crazy, right? It sounds wild. But that thing, those words definitely impact me a certain way. And they impact me a certain way for multiple reasons, right? But because me being an implant, not being from Texas, and having the upbringing that I did, which we may get more into at a later date. I come from an environment where, like I said earlier, you had to kind of be who you were, right? You couldn't be Joe Blow on the block and, you know, I say I'm this, and then when it hits the fan, I'm not expected to be that. That's just not how I came up, right? I came up in an environment where, hey, if you outside, this is what we doing. This is just what it is, right? There is no, you can say no, but there probably won't be, you know, the love is just not there, right? And everybody wants to be liked and appreciated and loved by their people, you know, the people that they struggle with, the people that they had nothing with, right? So you put yourself in situations where you want to make sure that the people that are around you respect you and they see you a certain way. That doesn't always end the way you think it will, right? A lot of times those decisions end up in very, very, very dire situations at the end, right? Like sometimes you bury people. A lot of times you bury people kind of knowing that it's coming. A lot of times you end up in situations where guys got to go do time. Hell, you got to go do time, right? Sometimes you're lucky. Sometimes your luck is just as simple as, hey, the cops are behind us and I hop this fence and you hop this fence and I run left and you run right. Well, the cop happens to run right. You know, but all while this is happening, you understand that I'm at peace with the world because it's what everybody around me wants me to do. It's what it's what I think I'm supposed to be doing, but it's not, right? But you don't know that because your environment is congested with all this noise, all you know is this, all you hear is this, right? It's gunshots. It's, this being sold, is that's going on. It's, it's, hey, let's go ride on this in this situation. And that's what you learn, right? You learn that no matter where you go in that area, that's what that is. And you learn to be at peace with that, because you understand, like, it becomes part of your DNA, right? To the point where you don't even flinch when you hear certain things, or you don't even move when you see police ride by at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, because you understand, like, hey, like, look, like, whatever, it is what it is. All the while inside you go, man, like, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Like, there has to be something better. There has to be something better, right? It might not be here, but there's something better, right? And most people, and for me, it gives me survivor's guilt in a way, because for where I am now, I never thought that I would be in this space, being able to be comfortable and be able to relax and let my hair down, so to speak, and not have to watch over my shoulder and not have to carry certain things or be on go all the time. Right. But there's so many people back home that I love to death, literally, that I can't help. Right. Or I can help, but they have to want to help themselves. Right. And they want better, but they don't know how to get better. So they're still at war with themselves, because, I love to visit. And when I visit, it's the best thing in the world. Oh man, bro, you home? Let's go hang out, barbecue, shut the block down. We're going to hang out. You know what I'm saying? Like, call everybody, like, let's get to it. Yada, yada, yada. And it's all love, right? It's all love. But you understand that if 50 people show up, it's 15 guns out there too. You know what I'm saying? Because the evolution that I've taken, so to speak, because these other people that I love or that I'm around, they haven't been out of that environment. They don't know me as that. They know me as the person they last saw me as when I was in that environment. And I may not have been a savory person in that environment. Right. And so in that environment, I have to be a different person in that environment. I've learned to be at peace with myself and at war with the world based on that. My environment is different, right? I don't live in that place at this point. I relax, right? I coach kids. I'm active, right? I'm outside, but I mean well for everybody, and I think a lot of that is seeing the worst in people will allow you to see the best in people, right? There's a lot of times where I can't sleep because I'm thinking about the people that I can't help. I'm thinking about the people that I want to help that won't take the help, right? I talk about this a lot, I don't go home as much as I want to, right? Home being Wilmington, Delaware, for people who don't know, right? It's a rough thing. It's a rough thing to be an implant somewhere and to be able to be a different person, or to be able to see something different, to want to be a different person, knowing that there's so many people that I genuinely love that are struggling, right? And when I go home, I show all the love I can, but as much as I want to stay, and God knows I want to move back, I know what was waiting on me if I didn't get sent to Texas, because truth be told, I got sent to Texas. I didn't choose to move here. And that's probably there's not a lot I can say about that, respectfully, but I may broach that conversation and that subject at some point too, how I came to be here. Right. But I mean, I appreciated my life's here, and so I went from, as a youngster, doing what I was supposed to do for the people that were in the struggle with me, and being at peace with that, being at peace with the street, being at peace with the violence and what comes along with that, to moving here, seeing the difference, and slowly, of course, because it didn't happen overnight, but slowly beginning to be at peace with myself, because I understand, like, hey, like, my environment and the people around me, whether they care about me or not, like, these people aren't preying on my downfall, at least not openly preying on my downfall. And for that, hell, I got to thank everybody I've come in contact with, because it's hard as a person who grew up a certain way to turn that switch off sometimes. I have the problem now. That's why music is so vital. Music is the most vital thing to me, right? A lot of times, like, music is the thing that calms me when I just wake up and my light is green, so to speak, metaphorically speaking, right? It's sometimes you just, you can't sleep. Sometimes you can't eat. Sometimes you're just stressed out, and you don't need anything. There's nothing wrong. It's just, you get phone calls from home and you want to jump on the next flight and go, revert to what for people that you care about, but you can't, right? You gotta, only thing you can do is love them from a distance and extend your hand. Hey, if you want to come, I'm here. I don't care what it costs. Come on. So, I went from that, like I said, being at peace with the world to now I'm at peace with myself, man. And so for everybody that I've come across, the kids that I've coached, right? The ladies at the store, right? Hey, how's it going? They just speak, because where I'm from, we don't just speak, right? You don't talk to strangers. That's just not a thing. For everybody that I've come across who's given me that positive energy, man, who's allowed me to kind of like slowly evolve into this person and to be a lot humbler of a person, man, and to want to do right and to see people win and do well and want to help in that, man. It's been a blessing. And I think every single person, man, everybody, there's not one person that I want to exclude. You know what I'm saying? So for anybody who's watching this, if you've been a part of my life, man, a part of the journey that I've been on, or about it personally, definitely, if you happen to know about it, don't comment. If you do comment about none of the bad stuff, right? We're going to leave that out, right? We're going to come in on a new slate, right? Like we want to be positive and we're going to push that thing down the line. And maybe one day we'll cross some of those stories that, you know what? I think we will cross those stories. I think we will cross those stories, right? Because a lot of times you hear people and they go, man, I've been through stuff. And it's the dopest thing, because, and then you hear the stories and it's like, wait a minute. Like, wait, you got your teacher smacked you with a ruler, bro? That's not going through nothing. Like, don't worry. I got some stuff, man. I got some stuff, and we're going to broach those things and talk about those topics as we go. But man, I want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of what we have going on here, man. We plan on taking this thing to the top, so if you know me, if you've been around me, if you see me out and about, I'm not the worst person in the world. I'm a good guy, man. I'm just trying to make it happen the best I can, and if you've had actual personal interaction with me, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. If you ever need me, I'm around. We're going to keep pushing this thing through the roof.